Yeah, on the show today. I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting here working. I don't know what is going on. Martin, what did you do? Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris. Martin. And John Lennon. This is what John Lennon would look like if he hadn't died. He would have got fatter, like us. Let me move you up into my position here. I'm not actually here. I'm a figment of your imagination or your worst nightmare.
This is my John Lennon hair. Imagine there's no intro. Easy if you try.
Where's Paul? I got me drums. I'll say good morning to everybody, and then I'm going to fudge off.
Okay, so we're
Werewolf Jeebus is here. Good morning, Werewolf Jeebus, aka Monkey Jeebus. Penny is here, Dork Knight's mom. Good morning,
Lord Thoth. Penny cartoon.
All hail Lord Thordloth.
Brother to Jude Law.
Right. D. Bud Martin is here. Good morning, my friend. Lauren is here. Good morning, Lauren. I hope you're having a good day. The Tomb of Dracula. Yes. I can count to 2. And because he's the count. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys have at it. That's it. I say good morning to everybody. Chris, I'm excited about watching this. I'm going to be watching it from the sidelines.
All right. No pressure.
And I look forward to John not contributing much.
All right, fine, be that way.
That's working. Or in the month of October, as we like to say, I hear he has an enormous Wandstucker.
Yeah, Wandstucker. I love how when I said that, John goes, "Oh man, come on."
I am not to Bubengraben.
Bubengraben. Have a good show, guys. I'll see you. Dragon Ruse is here. Good morning, and Jacob the Critic, our good friend Jacob, is here. John.
Dragon Ruse.
Yeah. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good show and look forward to watching it. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
And I'm trying to leave.
He's trying. We got no intro today, Lord Thoth Hale. Tenant as 14th Doctor Who? Oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a bad joke.
Just for a year.
It's not a spoiler because I already knew about it, but I still haven't watched the episode yet.
Oh, did it air?
Yeah, it was yesterday, or not yesterday, Sunday.
It's a great thing to do to your new doctor is to completely upstage him with the favorite doctor.
Yeah.
Like,
let's bring back the favorite doctor of the new Who.
F-bomb. I'm going to try not to curse because we are going on. Good morning, Stormy. Let's have Stormy say hello with her morning thumb. But yes, I will be practicing not cursing because we are doing the radio thing and we're trying to pump our numbers back up. But anyhow, yeah, I had a whole bit I was going to do, but we're good. We're talking morning. We're not talking morning. We're talking this morning coffee with our part 2 of Halloween recommendations. And I'm hoping that we'll also be joined by Joe's Atmosphere because he had one of the recommendations for today. Oh, Lauren wants to see the kitty again. There is the kitty. The creature of the night who makes my life miserable, but is super cute. So we got the kitty at the same time. And since we got ladies in the chat, of course, little weightlifting action. So did anybody over the weekend watch anything that is Halloween related? I know we've had a lot of Black Adam talk, but and anything horror? No.
What? Sorry.
No.
It's
Halloween.
My horror watching starts this weekend.
Cats are awesome terrorists. It's the month of October. It is Halloween all around. One thing that I'm very interested in seeing before we get going on the recommendations is Terrifier 2, because Terrifier 2 represents, and I know before the show started, I was talking a little bit about the Iron Age. Nobody seems to be familiar here with the Iron Age, but it was a term that was coined. Well, I'm not sure exactly who coined it. I think it was Razor Fist. I know that Peter Samedi of Alterna Comics was also talking about how we're coming out of the postmodern age of comics, but Iron Age pertains more to everything. It's kind of like the post Comics Gate mentality of we're going to create good independent content outside of the studio systems that it is not political. Anima Confucia, hello. I am here to butcher German for you. And please feel free to join us if you want to talk Halloween stuff. Hocus Pocus 2. I did see a little bit of Hocus Pocus 2. I'm not as into Hocus Pocus as my wife and girls are. So I've kind of like absorbed by osmosis Hocus Pocus 2 and the amount of times it's been played over and over again. But going back to the Iron Age. So yeah, independent creators doing things outside of the studio system that are not driven by any political agenda or preaching or anything like that. So there is ironage.media, and there is also A Drink with Crazy that covers a lot of Iron Age stuff on his YouTube channel. I will be appearing there this Friday for an 8 o'clock live stream. But yeah, I think that Terrifier 2 kind of exemplifies that spirit. I believe that the first Terrifier, directed by Steve, what is it? I'm blocking on his name. He's Uncle Creepy on Twitter. But I've communicated with him a few times after he did Terrifier 1. And I was getting ready to release the Quantum Terror because we were both kind of mutually looking at similar distributors, and we had a mutual friend that connected us. This has been a wonderful experience seeing this guy go from doing kind of this like weird clown slasher movie that I think he shot on a 7D camera, which is what I've shot on before. It's not a big deal of a camera, to doing the sequel, getting in with Bloody Disgusting's distribution, I think, four-walling a few theaters for one weekend. Then that turned into 2 weekends. Then that turned into 3 weekends. And now that turns into 1,000 more theaters on Halloween weekend, with Stephen King tweeting about it and it getting mentioned on WWE wrestling, like Art the Clown got referenced. It's super gory. It's super like splatter punk exploitation. People are supposedly passing out in the theaters and throwing up, and paramedics are getting called. And I don't know if any of that's true, but it's always fun when movies kind of do that bit. So it's and I saw The Ninth Circle. I haven't seen The Ninth Circle. I've seen The Ninth Configuration by William Peter Blatty, but that is actually not a horror movie. So I'll have to look up The Ninth Circle. But anyway, I'm really happy for this guy because he is, again, an example of an independent creator that went, and I think he crowdfunded his sequel, went and found some distribution, four-walled, and now it's like this phenomena, and it's charting right next to the big ones. Yeah, I'm sorry, King's Portal. I will watch it. I will watch it before Halloween. I'll find it on a streaming service. But anyway, so yeah, Terrifier 2, Art the Clown, not for the faint of heart or weak of stomach. But I'm super thrilled for this guy because that is the dream, is to create an independent film. And Winston, I'm live streaming here. Come on, dog. I'll pay you to make me throw up. Well, if you go see Terrifier 2 on the big screen for Halloween weekend, maybe it'll happen. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it does sound like a challenge. The first Terrifier was super exploitive and gory and bloody. It included a scene where a woman is hung upside down with her ankles and sawed down the middle, and then Art the Clown takes a selfie with her. I'm not. What?
I'm not into the whole, gore external gore for just gore's sake. I mean,
then this movie is not for you. And,
no, it's
I'll
not
be
for
honest
me.
with you. I'm actually not big into slasher or splatter myself. Sometimes, we talked about Hellraiser last time, which is super gory, but it's part of the theme of, and it's done in a way that is, like I said, you know why it's happening.
Same thing with Saw.
Yeah, I never saw Saw. For that reason. It's not my thing. That's not why I'm saying that why I'm shouting this movie out. I will see it because, again, I want to support this guy in his endeavors. It's the independent spirit and the fact that there is the grosser the movie, the better. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's an audience for this, and I think that especially if you're in the theater and it's like a shared experience, I think that makes it more fun. I didn't see Human Centipede either.
Yeah.
Again, that movie was hyped just on exactly what it was that scientist was doing to those people. No. But again, I'm happy for Terrifier 2, and I appreciate that there is an audience for it, and that movie was made to give that audience what they wanted, which is, for me, wonderful. So if that's your type of thing, I definitely recommend seeing it. I mean, just to see a guy make a character as in an independent movie, have that first independent movie do well, made it to Netflix for a while. You can watch it on Tubi right now. And then have that character, then have him do a sequel, up the ante. According to him, this is the movie he originally wanted to make, but the budget and the means weren't there for the first one. And then to have that character enter the lexicon of horror fans in the general audience without studio support, and be mentioned by Stephen King and have it, like I said, there was on WWE Wrestling last night, somebody was getting brutalized, and I think the commentator said Art the Clown levels of brutality or something like that. I was like, there it is. That's every filmmaker's dream, is to, even Hellraiser and Saw sequels couldn't continue good stories to justify the gore and became a joke of a gore fest. Yeah, and man, I saw one Hellraiser movie. Whoo, pops. It was so cringy how bad it was. It might have been the latest one, not the Hulu latest one, but like the latest direct to DVD or Blu-ray one. I turned it off. Not because of the gore, or not because I couldn't handle it. What I couldn't handle was the cringe. It's just like this really kind of juvenile idea of what Hellraiser was about. And,
I think I saw the first three, and then I was out.
The first three were fun. The third one kind of got a little cheesy, but it still had some good points to it. The fourth one, where it was Hellraiser in space, I just checked out. Let's see. What did Gary commented? After years as a paramedic and combat medic, nothing in a film grosses me out. However, my empathy button can be clicked by someone suffering. Yeah.
Visuals don't make me ill. I mean, you could show me anything, and I'm like, it's smell that gets me.
Smell?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Fortunately, smell-o-vision went to. We don't want. We don't want Serbian film in smell-o-vision. But anyway, so I've covered Terrifier 2. Like I said, if gore and audience experiences, you're saying, definitely go see it this Halloween weekend and have some fun. It's not playing anywhere near where I am, but I do believe there's pre-orders on Amazon for the Blu-ray. But anyway, so let's start with some recommendations, and I'm gonna hold off on Phantasm just in case we have. I don't like see people get hurt. Well, yeah, I mean in horror movies you're gonna see people get hurt, but I don't enjoy reveling in it. I think maybe that's why I don't like slasher movies. I've never been into movies that are like, oh, let's explore different ways to kill people. Again, I realize it's make believe. It's part of the fun to see the gore effects. Like Tom Savini is very good at that sort of thing. But it's just not my thing. It's like I do like people in peril. Get some rest, Gary. For sure. You need to sleep. Man, Gary just looked like hell. I mean, man, I've never seen anyone look so bad. Just like total. Oh, sorry, Gary. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah. So Halloween recommendations. Let's go a little. Let's start with the lighter side.
So you said Hellraiser 4 was in space?
It was in space. Yes.
I might actually have to give that a look because my favorite, outside of the first one, my favorite Friday the 13th is Jason X.
I haven't seen that one. I've never been much of a Friday the 13th fan either, actually. Again, slasher, Jason didn't interest me as much. Michael Myers did for the first movie. Freddy Krueger did for the first one and the third one. I liked the Dream Warriors. I thought that was a neat way to play with the premise. But okay, what should I start with? Should I start with? You guys choose. Should I start with Junji Ito? Should we start with a horror comic, or should we start with Corpse Bride and go more the kids side?
I don't.
Kids side.
Kids side. All right.
Yeah, so we can go in crescendo.
Crescendo. You want me to sing? Is what you're trying to tell me. So, Corpse Bride. Didn't we talk about Jaws last time? I think we did.
Yeah.
You think it's not horror, and I think it's horror.
You think it's horror, yes.
Yeah.
That was the last episode. We did talk about that.
And I said it was thriller.
You said it was thriller. I said it's man versus nature adventure. I'm gonna close this door. The dog's about to start barking at the mailman.
Well,
evil mailman. So Corpse Bride, and I happen to have the Making of Corpse Bride book. Yeah, Dream Warriors I really did love. So this is hope you guys can't hear that too badly. Slither was interesting, but I thought it could have been, I don't know. I would have done Slither differently. But Corpse Bride, stop motion animation. Oops. And it is a really great story. Wait, I got to recommend this book, and I'm sorry about the barking. Hopefully it's not coming in too loud. It's got a lot of concept illustrations, a lot of behind the scenes of the puppets and that sort of thing. But Corpse Bride is essentially the story of a young man who's been betrothed to marry. Let's see. Oh, of course. I have very few toys, but I have the Corpse Bride toys because they're just so beautifully modeled. But they're in the tradition of, the Burton-esque character designs. And Victor has been betrothed to get married, but he's very nervous. It's a marriage of one family is of old lineage, but they're broke. So they're marrying their daughter off to new money. And Victor is a very kind of nervous, sensitive boy played by Johnny Depp. And he's getting betrothed to Victoria. But in his nervousness, he runs off and he goes into the woods to recite his vows. And he puts the wedding ring on what he thinks is a dead tree branch, but it's actually the outstretched skeletal hand of a corpse, which turns out to, of course, be the Corpse Bride, played by Helena Bonham Carter. And she is just awesome. Probably the sexiest stop motion zombie in movie history. But she hasn't moved on in her death because she was murdered and left at the altar, left murdered, and now she's taken him down into the underworld, which is this very colorful musical place, in contrast to the land of the living, which is very drab and monochrome. And it's just a wonderful story. It's romantic. It's very heartfelt and touching. The animation is beautiful. The songs are fun. Again, Danny Elfman songs. I absolutely love it. And it's a great family film. It clocks in at 75 minutes, so it's not too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. And I actually think, as far as movies that stand up next to Nightmare Before Christmas, this one might actually be the one that I prefer. And I really do love Nightmare Before Christmas. But have you guys ever seen it?
Corpse Bride, yeah.
Yeah.
Have any thoughts on it?
It's another Tim Burton movie. I mean,
It's okay. Yeah, I don't
I
have any
absolutely
particular-
love this one. And like I said, the characters are fantastic. The acting is great. I love that she's got a little maggot that lives in her head and talks to her and sometimes pops out her eye. What do you say? Corpse Bride is Roman themed. Let's see. Roman themed. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think it was based on a Russian folktale, according to the book, which was essentially a very short tale, which is essentially that he accidentally marries someone from the underworld, and I can't remember exactly how it goes. It says it in the book, but it's kind of this fun love triangle.
romantic. To be
funny. Yes, it is romantic. It's this fun love triangle where you've got, kind of like I said, the Victoria on one end, who's very proper and they do love each other, and then you've got the Corpse Bride, who is he's trying to get away from it first. And there's a great line where she discovers that he's trying to get back to Victoria, and she starts crying, and she's going, "You abandoned me for that other woman." And he says, "Don't you understand? You're the other woman." And she's like, "No, you're married to me. She's the other woman." And she starts crying. Or he's trying to have conversations with her, and because the maggot's talking to her in her head, she keeps going, "Shut up." So he's going, okay, she's dead and she's crazy. Anyway, as far as like I said, romantic comedies in a Tim Burton-esque way, with beautiful animation. Edward Scissorhands is cool. Batman is 89 is cool. A lot of Tim Burton's earlier work is very cool. I wish Tim Burton would maybe try and return a little bit to his roots in terms of his love of story, because now it seems like Tim Burton just, I don't know, it's like he just takes a story and just slaps a coat of Tim Burton paint on it and then just puts it out there. I mean,
I can't remember what his last movie was.
Sweeney Todd?
What'd you say?
Sweeney Todd?
Oh, Sweeney Todd? No, he did something after that. He did Dumbo.
I forgot he did Dumbo.
And I don't know if he's he did that that kind of Ed Wood is an awesome film. That's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, is Ed Wood. I think that's a movie he really wanted to make, and he had to agree to do other movies for the studio in order to be able to make that movie. And it had a great makeup on Martin Landau, which I think was designed by Rick Baker, who's a master of makeup, and then applied by V. Neil, who did the Beetlejuice thing. Tim Burton is doing Wednesday Addams. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I was not impressed or even mildly excited by that trailer for Wednesday Addams, though. But that's a whole other subject. I don't want to go into the negative.
Well, I think they went the wrong direction with that. They should have had Christina Ricci do an adult Wednesday.
That definitely would have been better. Yeah, like I said, I could critique that, but I'm not going to, because generally when I start getting opinionated about how something could be better, I get myself into trouble. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that Tim Burton has done. But yeah, what was that movie with blocking on all the names today? It was an actress who was in Penny Dreadful, and she was also in Sin City 2 and 300 2.
Lena Headley.
No.
Oh, the other one. Green.
Ava Green.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I think she's great, but yeah, it was kind of like the X-Men, but for Tim Burton-esque characters. And I guess it was based on a book or something like that, but I don't know. It just seems like Tim Burton's looking to do the next Tim Burton thing, which is just a repeat over and over again. And yeah, he doesn't excite me like he used to. I think he needs to kind of try and break his mold. But I mean, he's making a lot of money and things are cushy for him, so maybe he doesn't feel the need to. But again, Corpse Bride, absolutely a great family film. Lots of fun. There is humor in it that adults can appreciate, but nothing that's inappropriate for kids. And I have a friend, Heather. Her daughter wanted to be the Corpse Bride for Halloween one year, so I know that kids really do get into that character. All right, so moving on. I think I brought this up before, which is the work of Junji Ito, which I don't know if any of you have read. It's I don't want to call it's Japanese, but I don't want to call it a manga because it doesn't have that manga style. Just give you an example. Let's see if I can. Like I said, it's very traditionally drawn, and there are some chilling stories in it. So this first story, which seems rather innocuous, they're just listening to a record, but the idea is that it's a record. It has no label on it that says who the artist is on it or where it came from. And the record starts to, the song on the record, there's only one song on it, makes people start to obsess over it. And if you try and copy the record, it doesn't copy. There seems to only be one copy of it, and everyone wants it. So they become so obsessed with the song on it that they start to kill each other over it, just to steal the record. And then after one character murders another, the corpse starts singing the song, singing the melody. And I won't give away that entire story. The second story, let's see. And by the way, if you become interested in Super Eye Patch Wolf, who's another YouTuber, did a great video about the work of Junji Ito. There's one about a disease that causes you to just grow holes all over your body until you're so riddled with them that your body just falls apart. But my favorite story on here is one about an ugly supermodel that turns out to be a man-eating monster. Only in this day and age would you give someone that looks like that a supermodel gig.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to find this story. So this is a creepy story. There is somebody, these students, one of their friends is found hanged from their bedroom on the outside. And at first, they treat it like they just figured their friend committed suicide and they're very sad and there's a funeral. But they're continuing to investigate or wonder, what happened. And then, let's see. One night, a giant head is witnessed floating through the air. Of course, that inspires some curiosity. It appears in different places, just this giant head. Not everyone believes it, of course. And then, now this head is the head of, the weird thing about this is this head resembles very accurately another girl in the town. And eventually, more heads start appearing. And then there's something else very strange, which is there's a body hanging from one of the heads. What they come to realize, and I want you to really look at this art and how weird and creepy it is. Everything about it is unsettling. So what eventually happens is these heads start appearing everywhere. And what is revealed is that every citizen in this town has a floating head that looks just like them. And at the bottom of each of those heads is a noose. And everybody, if their head with the noose finds them, the noose will slip around their neck and hang them. And there's no escaping them. If you shoot one of them, and it deflates because they are balloons, the person who's meant for that noose, they'll deflate. So eventually, it's very Lovecraftian in a way. And it seems silly until you realize how inescapable it is. But it's just a very creepy story. And there's another story that's similar that is about there's an earthquake that causes a big fissure to open up. It makes like this cliffside wall. And along this cliffside wall, there are all of these holes that are shaped like human silhouettes, human bodies. Everyone in the town starts to realize that each one of those silhouettes is individual to each one of the citizens in the town. And they are compelled to fit themselves into it. And once they do, they get sucked back into it. And even though they're seeing other people get sucked back into it, and they're horrified by it. I got a story about Tremors. Tremors is a great movie. They're compelled to do it anyway, even if they resist, even if they try and run away. The next day they're back, and then what happens is you start to hear the people as they get sucked back realize that the shape, even though the shape is accurate to them at the beginning, at the opening of the hole, the shape changes. And then at the end of the story, you find out what the shape is at the other side when they get to the end of it. I don't want to give it away, but Junji Ito is fantastic at just telling chilling, often Lovecraftian style stories that are unsettling and will be on your mind for ages after you've read them. And they have made anime out of them, and they have actually made a live action movie out of Uzumaki, which is a story about how a town is possessed by there's a lot of recommendations coming from King's Protocol today. Night of the Comet. I had a great experience talking with the set designer of Night of the Comet, the production designer on that. And Critters. I haven't seen Critters. I'll have to check that one out too. But anyway, yeah, Junji Ito, very creepy stuff. If you just want to read something that gives you the creeps, if you ever thought a comic book couldn't scare you, I think this will change your mind. Anyway, Joe's Atmosphere is still not here, and I'm sorry about that because we were going to talk about Phantasm. Now, John, you said it's been a long time, but you've seen Phantasm, and Martin, you haven't seen Phantasm.
Nope.
Okay, so Phantasm I really love because it's an indie movie. It's done on a very low budget, but it's done very creatively. It stars Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man, who I guess is kind of like, another horror movie's answer to characters like Freddy Krueger or, Jason, Michael Myers, Pinhead, just an iconic character. And I'm going to see if I can, Sleepy Hollow is decent. Yeah, Sleepy Hollow is where Tim Burton started to lose me. I think if he had better actors Johnny Depp is great, but I
Christopher Walken, man.
Christopher Walken was hardly in it though. I mean, he was, and he was great, and there were a lot of great kind of supporting actors. But Christina Ricci, she was miscast in that role, and I don't know. I'll have to go back and revisit it. My mama loved that guy. Yeah, Angus Scrimm is an amazing character in this movie. So it's this strange surrealist film that I kind of feel akin to because I like when movies don't explain everything. It opens with people having sex in a cemetery, and then suddenly the woman pulls out a knife and stabs the guy that she just had sex with in the cemetery, and then turns into the Tall Man out of nowhere, which is creepy on another level. Then you find out that this guy had a couple of friends that I guess they were in a rock band together. It's never 100% clear. They definitely like to jam together musically. And this is one guy, he's back from being on tour in a band, and he's got a little brother, and they're mourning the death of their parents. And now they're mourning the death of this guy, but everyone thinks it was a suicide. The kid is not allowed to come to the funeral, but he sneaks in anyway. And as everyone leaves, he observes that this Tall Man is the funeral home director, who then proceeds to lift the entire casket by himself, load it back in. Peace on Earth. Is that a horror movie? I don't know if that's a horror movie or not. Or if we just,
I'll check in.
What's that?
I'll check out.
Anyway, so yeah, it turns into this weird thing where it's like something's going on in this funeral home where something's being done to the bodies. Apparently, they're being turned into little savage dwarf people that wear Jawa robes with the hood up. There is a floating silver ball that flies through the air and has blades on it that stick into your head and then drill into your head here and spurt blood out. And you never quite know why anything is happening, but these little Jawa creatures that are made out of corpses are being sent into another dimension to work as slaves. And they accidentally go through the portal, and Das Wolfen, help me out here. What do you think is going on in this movie? Because it's compelling, but it's really difficult to kind of ascertain what's going on. I mean,
I think they're just farming. They're farming humanity for slave labor
in a really weird way, though.
Yeah,
and it's the there's a scene where because the kid is worried that because his brother was on tour that he's going to leave without him, and that there's and we should talk spoilers here, by the way. So if anyone hasn't seen Phantasm, we're gonna spoil some stuff, but only mildly, because even if I tell you this stuff, you gotta see it, because it's like the tall man tries to get him and he slams the door on his fingers and cuts his fingers off and then puts one of his fingers in a box, and then a fly gets him with the box and turns into a mutant fly, or maybe the finger just turns into a mutant fly. I'm not sure. The kid goes to see a psychic to talk about how he's worried about his brother leaving, and the psychic makes things appear and disappear, and then the psychic is never seen again. She doesn't factor back into it. All this strange stuff happens. And then after about, I don't know, the 2/3 of the movie, maybe more, suddenly, or probably near the end of the movie, they manage to defeat the tall man, sort of. But then suddenly the kid wakes up and it's his brother that's been dead the whole time, and their friend who's an ice cream man, who's got a bald head but has like a little, thing going on here with a ponytail.
Yeah.
Whole jam session that they do in the movie, where it's just them hanging out, jamming, drinking beer. And if this doesn't sound like it's David Cronenberg's The Fly. That's another good one. That's kind of I don't know if you consider that a Halloween horror movie. That's more of a science horror movie, but hey, anything horror on Halloween, we want to have fun with it. But yeah, this movie just, you go, okay, was the whole thing a dream? But then the tall man shows up again, and he's after this kid for the sequels too, and you never know exactly why. And he always shows up, and he's got one eye like this, and he always goes, "Boy," as he's coming after this kid. And then it ends on this cliffhanger, and then it picks up in Phantasm 2, which is again like all this weird stuff. And now the ice cream man is kind of the main hero of it. And then the boy they get into a car accident, and the boy's in a hospital for the third movie, and the boy is somehow kidnapped, and then there are the silver balls are coming out of people's heads, and just craziness happens. And every movie gives you a little more information with more questions, and every movie seems to end on a cliffhanger. And now I think there's 5 of them. I've only seen the first 3, but I revisited them so we could do this episode. And Scribe Light is here. Hey, Scribe. I wonder if I bet Scribe's seen Phantasm. But it is, yeah, it's crazy, and it's weird. It's very atmospheric. It's very compelling, but it never quite makes sense. There's always some gratuitous like nudity or a sex scene for, and they almost kind of make fun of it. It gets ridiculous. Like in the third movie, the ice cream man is like dreaming about having sex with this one woman that they've partnered up with, but like somebody's trying to like talk to him in his dream. So they're like trying to give him information, and he's trying to have sex with her and going like, I'm kind of busy here. Let's see. We got another Halloween recommendation, Creep Show and Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt was fun. I haven't watched that since it came out. I was literally watching that on HBO. Scribe's seen the first 3 many years ago, but yeah, it's just, again, it's a recommendation, but it is just surreal, strange insanity with, I don't know if the movie's supposed to be about the tall man or the dwarves or the flying silver ball that sucks your brains out, or what's going on. But
well, I took the privilege of looking up some analysis of it, and supposedly it's an existential look at mourning and death.
that would be the first one.
Yeah.
I think allegorically that definitely tracks. And I appreciate that. Again, I appreciate movies that aren't completely straightforward, and it definitely works. And it works in the sense of a dream where things happen. there's a false jump scare where someone runs into the housekeeper in the movie who is never introduced. She is seen once for the false jump scare, and then you never see her again. It's just like, oh, okay, I guess they have a housekeeper. And that's it. But I was looking at the IMDb for the director too. The director has, I was saying, I think before the show started, the career that I would like to have as a filmmaker, where he's done these Phantasm sequels, and he's also done Beastmaster. He wrote and directed Beastmaster, Puppet Master. Yes, anything. Charles Band, who does Full Moon Films and the Puppet Master series, as well as currently a bunch of kind of cheesecake things like Sorority Babes at the Bolorama Massacre or something like that. Attack of the 50-Foot Cam Girl. But he also did the Subspecies series. And Charles Full Moon Films has done some really great stuff. Yeah. King's Protocol is really like hammering in a lot of great recommendations, by the way. The Puppet Master is great. Pumpkinhead, we mentioned Pumpkinhead on the show last time. We did talk about that one. So the director of is Don, I think you say it, Casarelli. He directed Beastmaster. He wrote and directed John Dies at the End and Bubba Hotep. So he's been having a lot of fun doing stuff. Chopping Mall.
He also directed the first, third, and fifth of these.
First, third, and fifth. Yes. The second one is, I haven't been able to find it on video on demand, and I believe it got taken away from him, and then he got it back. So he wasn't happy with the second one. I was looking at producers. He produced the first. He directed the first four, and then David Hartman did the fifth one. Oh, okay, all right. So I know that there was some stuff with the second one where he didn't quite get what he wanted with it, but he did direct it. But Bubba Hotep, Beastmaster is a lot of fun. John Dies at the End, I was so on. I mean, I understand that was kind of supposed to be zany comedy, but it didn't quite land for me. Anyway, let's see. What else do we got going on here? So,
Phantasm, the whole series, is actually a profitable series, a minor profit. I mean, it has a total budget of all 5 films of was $6.5 million, and it made $20 million. So it made its money back and then a little bit more, considering I think 4 was direct to video.
Yeah, they went direct to video after that.
Maybe 5 too.
I think so, yeah. Those are available, though. You can watch these on Peacock and on Tubi. And I watched it. I went to Peacock thinking that they'd have 2, but again, nobody has 2 at the moment. But the great thing about the characters are fun. As zany and nonsensical as it can get, it's always compelling. You like the characters, you enjoy what's going on, and Phantasm 3 is a great time. I mean, it's got zombies. It's got a little kid who kills people, and he's one of the good guys. There's some highway. I don't know, what would you call them? Kind of this gang of 2 men and a woman. There's kind of this gang of like almost David Lynch style criminals.
Yeah.
Who, get someone to, ask them if they need help and then beat them up and rob them. But they try this with this little kid who's hiding out in a house, and he lives in an abandoned town where the tall man has already been. And they try and get him, and he murders them. I mean, he throws an axe that like chops right into the woman's head. And then they come back later as resurrected zombies by the tall man. And they're kind of like David Lynch characters. It's a lot of fun. I can't say enough good things about Phantasm. And it almost works like a television show. Like if you were seeing these as episodes as a show, because they always end on a cliffhanger, you'd be having a lot of fun with them. All right. So speaking of fun characters, what's Halloween without Vincent Price? And my favorite of Vincent Price is House on Haunted Hill. Last Man on Earth, not too bad. That's actually based on I Am Legend before Will Smith did it, and was also the
Omega
Marathon Man. It was remade as the Marathon Man.
Oh, the Omega Man.
Omega Man. Yeah, sorry. Marathon
Charlton
Man,
Heston.
Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got the double disc. And House on Haunted Hill is just Vincent Price fun. It's he hates his wife, so he throws a party for her, where he rigs the place to the house is supposedly haunted, and he offers all of these different people who are complete strangers to his wife. Instead of inviting her friends, he invites complete strangers and offers them $10,000, which is a lot of money back then, if they can stay the night, all night in the house. And then he gives them all guns in coffin-shaped boxes, which they immediately all hold with their fingers on the trigger. And it's kind of this weird, like, bizarre plot where she's trying to murder him and he's trying to get her killed. He's just an eccentric millionaire. And I do believe they did a remake with what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean that played Captain Barbossa.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey
Rush. They did a remake with Jeffrey Rush, and it was okay because it was Jeffrey Rush, but Vincent Price is always going to be a good time. Have you guys seen either of those?
Yeah. Years ago.
The Hollow Man is another recommendation from King's Protocol. Or Port Call. I can never say that right. I'm just going to call you King's
Kingsport Cal.
King's Port Cal. So the Hollow Man and Tremors. I'll talk about those since he's bringing those up. I got to work for Studio ADI, which is a special effects company in Chatsworth, California. Their first gig was Tremors before they did anything else. And when I went to work for them, they have a graboid coming out of the wall in their studio, which is really awesome. It was their first gig, practical effects, lots of miniature effects. They, of course, worked for Kevin Bacon. At the time, Kevin Bacon was upset. He thought his career was coming to an end because he was doing this silly movie about underground worms, which ended up pretty much being a perfect movie. I gotta say, Tremors is I can't find anything wrong with that movie. It is fantastic. And then Hollow Man was also one of their gigs. They actually created the gorilla that I guess kind of was half invisible. The Seventh Seal. That is what's that director? The eccentric guy that everyone.
That eccentric guy does not narrow it down for directors.
It's he was in The Mandalorian.
Werner Herzog.
Yes. It's just fun seeing Werner Herzog to do interviews. That's worth it in itself. And there's a Werner Herzog review of Trader Joe's, which I don't know if it's real or not, but it's hilarious. All right, so since we're coming to the close of our hour,
hey Don Ecker, Don Ecker's here.
Hey Don,
he wants to know if we've seen 30 Days of Night.
I have seen 30 Days of Night, and I have to say that it's first of all the concept is excellent, and Keith is here.
Hello, Keith.
Good morning, everyone.
30 Days of Night is a great concept for a vampire movie.
Yep.
I really love how it takes what we know about vampires and puts it into a situation that you may not have otherwise thought of.
Great comic too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how it started out, was a comic book that was adapted into a movie. And when you look at that cast, the whole thing is inspired. Now, is it one of the greatest movies ever made? Yeah.
No.
But I mean, as a adaptation of a really well done comic, this is a film that works. It's serviceable.
Bill Barclay is here.
Hey, Chris, there's a sequel to the remake of House on Haunted Hill.
There is.
Yeah,
I didn't know
Return
that.
to House on Haunted Hill from 2007. Who knew?
Oh, never heard of that one.
Must have been direct to video.
I want to go back to 30 Days of Night there for a second, though,
Yeah.
because there's some really great things about that movie that it does well. One, the sense of danger and oppressiveness is relentless. It's actually a little hard to watch because of that. You really feel the danger the entire time of this movie. You really feel like, anyone could get killed at any time, including yourself. Like the vampires could get you through the screen. I also love that kind of rat way of presenting the vampires, the design of them, and it really kind of holds true to Ben Templesmith's original artwork, that style, while still adapting it well for the screen, not making it overly stylized. Interesting note as well, the actor Lance Henriksen, who's Bishop in Aliens, said that it's his favorite vampire movie. He really loved it as well. I always can't help but notice, though, that one of the character that drives the tractor to save everyone else is the same actor in Batman Begins. That's the corrupt cop.
Yeah.
I kind of can't unsee that. Let's see. Bill Barclay says, I still haven't seen Halloween Ends. I did watch Doctor Who the other night. It's actually pretty good. Oh, that's good to hear. And certainly moves at a pace. I'm not, again, I've only seen the first Halloween, so I don't have a horse in that race. I did, by the way, speaking of when we mentioned Puppet Master before, and Charles Band, who is the producer of Full Moon Features that did the Puppet Master movies, he has a podcast on Spotify called Full Moon Freak Show, and it is really fun. He recently he recently interviewed Rob Zombie and asked him about his Halloween movies, which, again, I haven't seen, but it was neat hearing him talk about working for the Weinsteins. He didn't work with Harvey Weinstein, but his brother, which I think is Bob Weinstein, I think. He's got some great stories about what a nightmare bastard that guy is. But Full Moon Freak Show is Maximum Overdrive. That's good for comedy. I don't know if that's that works for Halloween. And Devil's Rejects, Rob Zombie as well. Yeah, the Rob Zombie interview is very interesting. He's interviewed on their Tom Savini, John Carpenter. Who else has he had? He's had some really great guests. Barbara Crampton. Who was it that was in the Devil's Rejects? That was also Crop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It'll come to me. But anyway, yeah, excellent show if you like filmmaking and Halloween stuff. Anyone seen Terrifier 2 yet? Haven't even heard of it, nor the first one. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about that at the beginning of the show, but I'll revisit it. So the original Terrifier is about Art the Clown, a demonic slasher clown that kills people in brutal, gory ways. He originally appeared not in the first Terrifier movie, but in a Halloween anthology, which I can't recall the name of at the moment, but that was his first appearance, where he was kind of brought forth by some other demonic entities. But yeah, I was just talking about at the beginning of the show how I'm really thrilled that an independent producer, who I've had the pleasure to communicate with when he had the first Terrifier in distribution, and I think he only did it for a few $1,000s. He got it on Netflix. and that was through Dread Central, who distributes a lot of. They've got their own website and they distribute a lot of low budget horror movies. And then he left Dread Central and went with Bloody Disgusting, and they four-walled it. The four-wall means that you rent a movie theater and then you screen it. So they four-walled a few theaters for one weekend. It did so well that they did a second weekend, then a third, and now they've got 1,000 more theaters bringing it on for Halloween weekend. It's been noticed by Stephen King. So again, shout out to Terrifier 2, even though it's not my kind of movie, because I'm not into just slasher, gore fest, brutal things, but I realize as an audience for that, they have a good time with it. And it's great to see, in this, and I'm going to use the term again, this iron age of media, an independent creator doing so well. I absolutely love it. So if you like gore fest, if you like slasher, definitely find a theater that's showing Terrifier 2 this weekend. And if you want to watch Terrifier 1 and figure out, find out what Art the Clown is all about, then it is on Tubi at the moment, streaming there for free. And it probably is on Amazon as well. Last but not least, because we're going over our hour, but I just want to mention the Hammer Dracula movies are a great time. A lot of people say that Dracula AD is not that great, and probably,
it's not the best of them, but
my favorite is let's see,
Seven Golden Vampires.
Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, Horror of Dracula. My favorite is Taste the Blood of Dracula. That's my favorite. These are all Christopher Lee, Sauron, or Count Dooku himself.
Count Sauron.
Certified
Sauron.
badass.
No, Count Sauron.
Count Sauron. I wrote a song. He also is a heavy metal artist, but I wrote a song called like a follow up to the Twist or the Monster Mash. Do the Christopher Lee. I forget all the lyrics, but it's you got to sing it like him. So it's everybody's doing the Christopher Lee. It's the dance sensation that's sweeping the country. I can't remember what the rest of the lyrics were. Something about there were Star Wars and Lord of the Rings references in there, but I had a lot of fun with it. But unfortunately, I don't know how to write melodies or music to it, so it fell by the wayside. But yeah, Dooku, certified badass, according to King's Protocol. I'm a prequels fan. I'll admit it. I love the Star Wars prequels, and I love Count Dooku. I think he's awesome.
We're leaving a ton of movies on the floor.
Well, we've only got so much time, and how can you see my floor?
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Rocky Horror.
How could we not talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I went. I used to do the whole thing where you jump up and do the time warp and that sort of thing. But every time they do like a trivia giveaway, I could never answer the question. I don't know. It's I like it. I had fun with it, but it didn't stick with me like it did with some people. But you.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Rocky Horror fan. I love. I've been to the interactive things. I'm thinking about going Saturday night to they're having it at the local theater. Thinking about going to it.
Are you going to put on the garter belts?
No. I used to dress as Eddie.
That's
it's a simple costume. It's a it's a sleeveless jean jacket. I mean, it's not really that hard to pull off. and a line of blood across your forehead.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it is fun. It goes more glam than horror at the end.
Yeah.
I couldn't rock the garter belts though, personally.
And what about movies like
he's a goodie.
Days Later?
What's that?
Go ahead, Keith.
I said he's a goodie.
He's a goodie.
You talking about Frankenfurter?
Well, Eddie, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Eddie. And what were you saying?
Well, what about movies like 28 Days Later?
28 Days Later,
is that less horror, more horror? Is that horror or is it more post-apocalyptic.
Hey,
It's
we
not
got
really
a drink with
post,
crazy here.
It's
I was
apocalyptic because it's not post. Post doesn't. I mean, I guess the post would be the next movie, but
Well, it's more like how one would think that World War Z was started.
yeah.
So with that, and again, I just want to give a shout out to A Drink with Crazy, who I will be on his show at 8 p.m. on Friday. Everyone go subscribe to A Drink with Crazy. He is part of the big push for the Iron Age. But yeah, going at 28 days later, I will tell you what I liked about it and why I would probably never watch it again. I liked how it was done. I liked, again, it was an independent movie. They did a lot of digital cleanup to make London look deserted when they were actually shooting next to roads that were in heavy traffic. I love the idea of the opening where there's just this great moment where they're, you've got the activist trying to let the lab chimps out, and he's going, no, don't open that. They're infected. Infected with what? And he just goes, rage. And it's like, okay, that's cool. It's not a big, long explanation. It just, you got it right away. And just the delivery of it was very creepy. It is a good movie. The reason I will never watch it again isn't because of the quality. It's just such a downer. Really, just the idea of the soldiers, luring people in just so they can not drug them, but rape them. And, the idea that, the scene where the woman who's a nurse is like, I'm going to give you this, before they rape you. And she's like, is it going to kill me? And she's like, no, but it's just going to make you so you don't care. I'm like, oh, it's just such a downer.
Well, that's how the apocalypse would be.
Yeah. And that's probably also why I don't like, I'm not a big post-apocalypse fan, actually. Partially because I feel like it's an overplayed trope, but also because I like civilization. I don't want to live in a post-apocalyptic world.
But also, it's not the first movie to have a downer ending. I mean, when you think about it, the Omega Man is is the ultimate downer ending.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, with Omega Man, and that's based on Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, which we've
never really got a really proper film version of.
I think you dropped in after, but I did mention The Last Man on Earth, with Vincent Price, which is also, for the time, really dark. I mean, you got his little girl in bed, just like clawing at the air, going, I can't see, Daddy. And then the next scene, he's throwing her into a ditch. Also,
Soylent Green is another one whose ending is.
But I want to address The Last Man on Earth or Omega Man or I Am Legend, and the fact that, the idea of that one is just that the original idea was that, mankind, because of this virus, had evolved. There wasn't just kind of the zombie vampires, but there was this kind of new generation of human beings that he had become the monster too. He was what was stalking them while they slept, from their point of view. And so it was this really kind of weird twist where, even though, it was the end of him, there was a new generation, which is, with the Will Smith version, it's like, oh, there's a cure, and, you're going to find, eventually you're going to find more people and blah, blah, blah. It's like, kind of missed the point.
Well, that's really the signature of all of the Will Smith films that are based on classic novels. All of them miss the point.
Yeah.
All of them are really. I love Will Smith as a performer, and I felt that in those situations he was partnered with people who didn't understand at all. And I'm especially talking about iRobot, which was a complete.
Not even based on iRobot. It's based on the first book in the series.
It's funny, and I did actually enjoy iRobot. It's directed by Just all the names are eluding me today, but the same director as The Crow and Dark City.
Yeah, but that is such a Hollywood up version of the actual story.
Yeah.
It has about as much to do with the original novel and premise as, say, the $1 Billion Show does with supposedly what it's attached to, because it's that far off the mark. It is that far off the mark. If all you know about iRobot is that Will Smith movie, life depended on whether or not to get those answers right, you better get set to meet Elvis, kids, because that movie is going to get you killed.
Kingsport Cal, it's not Philip K. Dick, it's Isaac Asimov.
Yes,
Yep.
it is Isaac Asimov.
It's actually loosely related to. I think he connected it to Foundation in a way.
Yeah,
Oh, did he?
it seems all his books are connected to Foundation in some way or another.
Yeah.
He's kind of doing the same thing Stephen King does with The Dark Tower.
It's actually a prequel to Foundation, because the same robot in Foundation is the same robot from the iRobot series.
Oh, I didn't realize that. And I've read most of Foundation. Foundation, again, some good stories in there, some
Well, this is where Stephen King got the idea from. You got to remember, Isaac Asimov is part of the modern day masters, quote unquote, of science fiction, and him having actual science experience. You know, he's one of the major names, I should say, not just in science fiction, but really in American science fiction. And where he came along was at a very important time in the development of science fiction as a literary art form in this country. So,
yeah. Foundation has always been kind of funny to me. It's science fiction central planning, but at least he had the good sense to write in the further novels that it starts to fall apart after a while. I want to point out Bill Barkley says I lost it. Let's see.
Foundation was not a great TV series.
God, that was bad. Jeez.
Where did his he said
but what?
It was it's gone. I can't find it. It was about Life Force.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
There it is.
Life Force is a classic.
Life Force is bonkers, and I love it.
God, that just came out in 4K. They just released that in 4K. I'm telling you, if you've never seen Life Force, that is a science fiction horror classic. It's modern day British horror on a scale that, wow. I mean, I saw that in theaters. I think that was actually the second time I ever saw Patrick Stewart on the big screen.
It is like a 1950s style story where the narrative keeps jumping to different characters. You never get a beat on like one lead character for too long.
Well, it's done in the style of. Well, it's done in the style of the literary version of Dracula.
Yeah,
but
it's got that it's got that Hammer Dracula feel with.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a Hammer horror film. It's a quote unquote modern day Hammer horror is what it is.
Canon Films, which if you see the Canon Film documentary, it's brilliant. I highly recommend that, especially if you want to be a filmmaker. They had a great business model going until they blew it. But it's like a Hammer. It's like Hammer horror meets Alien, and a 1950s style script, and at the same time Italian style nudity.
Geez, yes.
I mean, man, I'm telling you, when I was younger, and and the first time I saw that movie, I definitely sat up for her. It's like, wait, she's in hibernation and she's nude. Oh, they'll get some clothes on her soon. She's walking around and she's nude, and she's. They made a good choice with that casting, gotta say.
Well, it's one of the best examples of both British and American filmmakers working together. And that, again, 4K, kids.
with Israeli producers.
Yes.
and awesome practical effects. The practical effects, there's like so much weird. There's bat creatures, there's zombies, there's light coming out of people's faces. Patrick Stewart dissolves.
Well, he still wasn't a major name. I mean, this is all pre Star Trek: The Next Generation, so this is pre 1987. But I mean, this is for the director. This is what after he directed Poltergeist. This is his next project.
Toby Hooper.
I thought it came out in '84.
Life Force.
Yeah.
It came out post Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I know that. And
Yeah.
Toby Hooper did a bunch of movies for them, including Canon Films also did a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Mhm.
And did the remake of Invaders from Mars.
Oh yeah.
Which Stan Winston Studios did the practical effects on that. I know my friend Alec Gillis, who did Tremors and Hollow Man, also worked on that right before hopping onto a plane and going to work on Aliens. So all sorts of interesting connections there. Yes, I think Patrick Stewart did Dune before Life Force. So probably from jumping from David Lynch to Toby Hooper on Life Force.
I was wrong. Life Force was 85.
Oh, okay. You imagine Patrick Stewart doing Dune with David Lynch and then hopping over to Life Force. He's going like, where is my career going to?
that means I got it wrong then. That was Dune was actually then the second movie I remember seeing him in. But the first film was Excalibur.
Yep.
And
1981.
That's the first time I ever remember seeing Patrick Stewart on the big screen.
He's done so much stuff. He keeps popping up in that you don't realize that he's in until after the fact.
Well, given what he had done with given what he had been able to do with Excalibur, because that was a loaded cast, and then with Dune, another loaded cast, to make that cameo Life Force, which is really what that was. That was pretty much just an overglorified cameo.
And shout out to his cameo in Robin Hood Men in Tights as well.
Yep.
There you go. I mean, again, Patrick Stewart's just one of these people that he's a really cool dude. He can do just about anything, but I really enjoyed him in Life Force. That entire cast, Steve Railsback and the rest of the cast, were incredible. And it is one of the most effective movies of its kind. It was very different from a lot of other films, with the exception of those people trying to do remakes of classic 50s films. The Blob was remade, and they remade at
least twice.
Yes, at least twice.
Remake the Blob. There was the 1980s version, which was pretty good, and
then there was one in the was it 90s?
Was there?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of that.
And then you have The Thing, which is a remake.
Yeah,
John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a remake. And then you have Invaders from Mars. And then you have Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which actually was remade in the 70s, but then remade again.
There's like
later.
5 different versions of that movie. The Invaders from Mars movie, 80s movie, was so goofy.
It was meant to be. It was meant to try to elicit the same kind of response that you had to the original 50s film. And everybody that was in it, everybody that made it, were fans of the original film. So that's the way you got to look at it.
It was remade in 72 with Beware the Blob, starring directed by Larry Hagman.
I thought that was supposed to be a sequel.
Yeah, I think that's a sequel.
Is that a sequel?
I think the one after that is the reboot or the reinterpretation.
The thing was
because there is a difference between all those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Thing was kind of remade, although it was a prequel. Yeah, the Thing prequel that's 2011. That again was Studio ADI had come in to do the practical effects, and if you go to their YouTube channel, I highly recommend you look up their work on The Thing, because it was going to be a practical effects gig, and then it got done over by CGI. Now, I'm not saying that the practical effects would have saved the movie. I think the movie was just okay. They kind of messed with the continuity of the original, so I don't think it's really an official. I mean, the studio will tell you it's an official prequel, but it doesn't feel like a genuine prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. I'll give one more Halloween recommendation. Let me see. I'm going to grab it. Hold on a second. It is a movie that I got to work on with Studio ADI. So the story behind this is, after the Thing prequel, people were wondering what happened to the practical effects, because they'd heard that they were doing practical effects to make it akin to Rob Bottin's work in John Carpenter's The Thing. And then it all got replaced by CGI. Now, the official answer is just studio meddling. Some studio execs looked at it and went, looks like an 80s film, and they have told the story that pretty much everyone said they got two reactions, which is, it looks like an 80s film. What the hell? To, oh, cool, it looks like an 80s film, which is my reaction when I see practical effects. It's like, I don't think that's a bad thing, but because people questioned, did they screw up? They released the YouTube videos of their work on it, and people freaked out. They got millions of views and a ton of people saying, wow, we were robbed of some great practical effects. So Alec Gillis of Studio ADI went ahead and did a crowdfunder, a Kickstarter, for his movie Harbinger Down, this is my copy here. I got to work on the promotion team for the Kickstarter. And we were very successful. We got, if you guys remember Comic Book Girl 19? No?
Yeah, I remember hearing the name before.
Yeah. She was big for a while in the, like, around 2000, I don't know, whenever Prometheus came out, which is, I think, the 2000 teens. She had some really big hits doing examination videos, and she became a really big YouTuber for a while. She's kind of faded away now, but
she's a big X-Men fan, if I remember.
She's a big X-Men fan, Frank Frazetta fan, Aliens fan. She did good work, but she kind of fizzled out, I think. But at the time, she was really hot, and I got her to interview Alec, because she was a big practical effects fan, about the film, and she interviewed Lance Henriksen, because Lance Henriksen is in this film, but they wanted to do a practical effects film, but since they didn't have a big budget, it was crowdfunded, they did it in the style of a Roger Corman film. Alec got his start with Roger Corman, and his story there is he went to interview to work for Roger Corman on Battle Beyond the Stars, but he was nervous that his portfolio wasn't good enough. So he asked if he could bring a friend. That friend was James Cameron. So both he and James Cameron got hired on to work for Roger Corman, and James Cameron ended up taking over the special effects department for Battle Beyond the Stars, and then also did Galaxy of Terror. Alec went on to work with James Cameron on Aliens through Stan Winston, and they remain friends to this day. Alec appeared on, what was it, History of Science Fiction, I think, that James Cameron produced. But anyway, so Alec did this crowdfunder. He got Lance Henriksen to be in it. Also, Matt Winston was acted in it, who was the son of Stan Winston, and also is known as, what was the name of the guy in Star Trek Enterprise that was the time cop guy that kept jumping in?
The guy in charge of the temporal.
Crewman Daniels?
Yeah. But anyway, so they did a bunch of practical effects on this. I got to do some designs for this. And again, it's on Tubi. It's essentially an homage to The Thing. As a matter of fact, the original concept what he was going to try and get away with was, without mentioning any names, they were going to drag a body onto the ship out of the ice that looked like McCready, and then things would go from there. But they had to change the premise to a Russian cosmonaut who was experimenting with tardigrades. But again, if you like B movies that are in the spirit of Roger Corman style movies like Galaxy of Terror, or maybe something like Leviathan, or it's got that feel to it. It's pretty good. I'm very proud of it. So Harbinger down. Of course, my copy's signed. But and I also did a book. Oh, I'll get that too. Might as well plug a product. I wrote this book. It's Harbinger Down, Practical Effects Journey. It's got a lot of the designs and behind the scenes. There's Matt Winston.
Wow.
And his fate. Shows stuff, designs. I did that design there. It wasn't used, but shows the different things going on. We talked about him this last time. This is Steve Norrington, who worked on Aliens, but is also the director of Blade and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, so yeah. I had a friend of mine that had a long discussion with him because they ended up, my friend was working for James Cameron and got into a long discussion with Stephen Norrington and what it was actually like to work on the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, aka the film that tried to end his career. So,
well, he pretty much tapped out after that, although he is working on something that's a personal project. I don't know what it is. I've just gotten glimpses of it. But yes, he's the guy that got into the fist fight with Sean Connery. So anyway, Making of Harbinger Down, it is available on Amazon right now. I might pull it at a certain point, but it goes through everything, the making of the creatures, how they made the sets in a warehouse in Chatsworth. But it's a lot of fun. And, green screen, miniatures, all the stuff that I think we can agree is very cool in movies. Miniature ship. Let's see if there's a on-set stuff. Again, Lance Henriksen. So there's really great photos in there. Very happy how that book turned out, and very happy with how that movie turned out. So that's another Halloween recommendation. So I think I'm getting to the point where I think we should be wrapping up. But before we do, are you guys working on anything? Do you guys have projects? Because I know I'm always talking about my projects, but anybody want to talk about a quick shout out of what they're doing at the moment?
I live stream on Tuesdays every week at 4:00, except for this week because I have an appointment at 4, so I had to postpone. So it picks up next week on the 1st.
Excellent. Yes. And that is called, that's the Dust Wolfen Stream of Randomness.
Yep. The random stream of randomness.
And Keith, you host this show on Fridays.
Yes, I host the Coffee with Keith on Fridays, and this Friday's show, gonna dedicate it to a particular personality who crosses all the major genres, someone without whom what we have and know as fans, whether you are geeks or nerds, you owe this person an incredible debt. They are also the co-creator, because this will give you a major hint, of cosplay. And was actually the first person to ever approach Tolkien about turning one of his properties into a film. He had the guts to do that.
Oh, okay.
Is he pretty much the father of science fiction conventions?
He helped to co-create a lot of that, especially Worldcon in '39. Yep. And I was very honored and lucky to meet him. I have to say, this particular person is someone who Stan Winston, James Cameron, Peter Jackson, Steven Spielberg. I mean, I could go on naming anyone that we actually looked up to that was a filmmaker in the 70s and 80s, looked up to this guy.
All right.
So
this is going to be a great show. So we'll definitely make sure. And Martin, how about you? You got anything going on? Or you just making all us look good?
I just make you all look good.
Yeah.
And I thank you every single day, Martin.
And Martin makes it look good. So thank you, Martin. All right. Well, let's say thank you to all the people in the chat. Werewolf Jeevis. I didn't know it was a full moon. Penny. Now it's time for another Penny cartoon. I should stop doing that. Lord Toth and D-Bud Martin. We've got Lauren Worth. And the Tomb of Dracula. Let's see. Skip over some of the Jacob the Critic. Thank you for being here. And Dragon Ruse. Stream Elements. Penny. No, we said hi to Penny already, but hi again, Penny. Fortis Back Cod. 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 Male COD. Let's see. Who am I missing? Let's see. King's Protocol. Thank you for all the great dropping those great suggestions. More than we could talk about. Anima Confucia. Hope you're still here, and we love you. And sorry for butchering German. Let's see. I think, am I missing anyone? Dragon Ruse. We got Lauren Worth. We got Pops. Thank you, Pops. Got Pops and Pop Culture Minefield right on top of each other. That came out wrong. Sorry. And let's see who else. Of course. Wow, we had a lot of comments today. So forgive me if I miss anything. Of course, Scribe Light, who is often dropping in on my live streams. We did a great one about writing. And Don Ecker. And Bill Barkley. But yeah, Scribe and I had a great live stream on my channel about writing, looking at the story structure of Aliens, which is, well, that's a movie for any time of year. A Drink with Crazy. Thank you for dropping in. Again, I will be on his show live streaming on 8 p.m. Friday. And Martin, did I miss anyone? I think I might have got everyone. I don't let's see.
Did you check in the private chat?
Let's see. Private chat.
Chris Chibnall's an idiot. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
I think we got everyone. Martin, thank you for keeping eye on that. So I think that is everyone. And if I did miss anyone, I apologize. I'm still pretty new at this. You're
doing great.
Lonely on my own channel instead of having.
You're doing great, Christopher.
Thank you. All right, and of course, thank you for Das Wolfen, aka Nosferatu Bubengraben, aka Enormous Spanstucker, and thank you to Martin.
And finally, we have this. So I have to put the video.
Oh, we got to get it in. No pun intended.
Like, wouldn't you know that back door would trigger a trap door?
Wow.
There you have it.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, John. And this is where the band plays us out.
Chris Chibnall is an idiot. Chris Chibnall is an idiot.
Chris Chibnall looks idiots look good.
Chris Chibnall sometimes makes J.J. Abrams look good.